bitty scoop, boop, 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 bitty scoop, boop, boop, boop. Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Greene, and we have a little magnifique introduction of fantasy news to cover here today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. First up, it has been confirmed that the Wheel of Time TV show has begun filming once again in Prague, and we have that confirmed due to the actors involved posting to social media about being in Prague once again. We back, baby! They've all kind of seemed to be up in their social media game around Wheel of Time a bit. I don't know if this is due to like marketing, go do that, or just genuinely they're excited to be back or more involved in the show than ever. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it's nice to see and has me excited. And while we're covering Wheel of Time news, we also have a brand new Wheel of Time focused website being launched by fellow content creator here, Nablus. So if you'd like to see kind of an aggregate, I'm an aggregate here advertising an aggregate, go ahead and check out the link in the description down below. It's a really cool way to keep track of all the different content creators who are talking about Wheel of Time, so you can stay up to date on what the latest Wheel of Time content is. That was repetitive, but it's accurate. But moving on into that to the broader general fantasy news, removing my biased, overly hyping Wheel of Time glasses, putting them down right here. We also had the author of The Poppy War, Rebecca Kwong, take to Instagram and do a drunken recap, not drunken, but she was drinking, recap of The Poppy War, which was a blast to see. I really like more authors coming out and connecting directly with their fan base. You can see which authors are keeping up with the new trends, knowing how to engage with their audiences, and which other ones are kind of just like resting back on what they know and, you know, are just sticking to that older media. You would be amazed the questions I've gotten from smaller publishers, editors, etc. about how do you stay up to date with the current trends of guys. Just connect directly with your audiences the most you can. That's the heart and soul of new media. So when an author does something like this, they're going right into there. It's ABC easy, man. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry. Just something I spent a lot of time talking about. Moving on. Next news. The Michael Kramer / Kate Redding Twitter account went ahead and gave us a little twit about how they are going to be recording Rhythm of War starting today. When the tweet came out, they said tomorrow, but tomorrow is today now, so this is happening currently. And I'm really excited for this. Stormlight Archive is a series that their voices are just the way to experience it for me. I read physically now most books I do review here on the channel, but something about Wheel of Time and Stormlight Archive, their voices are the voices of those worlds for me now due to nostalgia and, you know, dumb other reasons. So it just always gets me like, yay, when I see they're going to be jumping on back in. And I like that they're kind of like the larger voices of the Cosmere as well, because they've been doing it for so long. Big fans. Happy to see this. Next news. If you're someone like me who enjoys data, enjoys lists, do you say data, not data? Well, then that just bothered you. r/fantasy has put out two interesting little collections here. For the first poll, they asked their, I believe, the largest online fantasy community as a whole ever, what is your favorite fantasy novella as of 2020? Not released in 2020, just your favorite as of now in this year. I won't go over the full list, but the top 5s were pretty interesting and actually bumped some up very high on my TBR. Let's take a sneak peek, shall we? Number 1 with 55 votes, Martha Wells with The Murderbot Diaries. Number 2 by Amal Imohar and Max Gladstone, we have This Is How You Lose the Time War. At number 3, we have Brandon Sanderson's The Emperor's Soul. At number 4, we have Nadia Korafor's Binti. At number 5, we have Shannon McGuire's Wayward Children series. They're not the most votes ever, but it's still interesting to see what popped to the top here. I actually have not read most of those, so I plan on getting through them because novellas are something a lot of people in my audience want more recommendations for, and I'm having big epic series burnt out a bit, so it'll be fun to go ahead and just pick up some of these one-offs. And for the second list here, they did the same thing for the best LGBTQ plus fantasy sci-fi related books that you can go ahead and check on out. I have read some LGBTQ plus books, but not any of them that I read were in their like top 5. I will say though, the number 1 for this list was also This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mohar and Max Gladstone. So taking both list high spot is pretty damn impressive. Let's go ahead and crank that one up. This plus the Murderbot Diaries I want to get into because I've heard amazing things about the Murderbot Diaries. Now, I don't typically talk about sadder or negative news here on Fantasy News because it's just, one, adds more stress to me because someone's always upset by how I covered it, or, it's just I want Fantasy News in general to be an escape, something people can come to forget the problems and worries of the world and just have fun talking about and listening to entertainment stuff. But it would feel wrong to me to not at least mention the fact that we did lose Chadwick Boseman and his absolutely outstanding work within fantasy and Black Panther was something that meant so much to so many people for an incredible amount of reasons. And seeing the things that have come out around this man about how good he was, how much work he did with children and children who are suffering from a similar illness as himself, watching that clip of him talking about terminal kids who didn't make it to seeing Black Panther even though they were so excited, and now knowing he was suffering from a similar thing at that time, it's just one of those things that's going to affect everybody. And Chadwick Boseman seemed to be an incredible guy. I highly recommend you check out a lot of his work outside the MCU. He was just a great actor, whether it's in 42 or To Five Bloods. Definitely worth the viewing if you've not already. Also, Black Panther is being put up in a lot of different places if you'd like to watch that again as well. But one thing I wanted to hit on here and add to this conversation, I'm someone who's dealt with death a couple of times in my life through friends and depression or sickness, and I just wanted to tell you that you should never feel bad for the emotions you feel while grieving, even for someone you just kind of have a parasocial relationship with. I'm sure most of you never met Chadwick Boseman, but through interviews, through acting, you can feel like you have some kind of connection to a person, or still figuring that out in sociology and stuff. It's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. That's part of grief, is learning to be okay with whatever your reaction is. So I just wanted to, just from someone who's experienced a lot of loss directly and indirectly, don't feel ashamed. Definitely feel like you can talk about this with people. And I'm keeping Chadwick Boseman's friends and family in my thoughts because he seemed like an extraordinary guy. And the only way to put this in my head that feels right is to say this is unfair. There's no smooth transition out of that, so I'm just going to move on to the next story here, and we're going to talk about the fact that Rob J. Hayes continues to use his platform like the badass he is to promote other self-published authors, and he gave us his September self-published release list. If you're looking for some of the smaller names coming out in the fantasy circles, this is the place to go. It's become basically my favorite place to point people who want to see what's going on for the latest releases that aren't getting the marketing campaigns behind them. After going through all these descriptions, the one that kind of caught my eye the most is Kept from Cages. Definitely had a little bit of a sneak peek there that was enticing. So go ahead and check out this list and let me know which one catches your eye the most if you're interested. And I'm covering this story as an excuse to talk about another thing, but we also got the release from Empire of a bunch of covers for Dune and Dune photos. They looked pretty cool. Each one builds the epicness and scale of this Dune adaptation. And here's me in editing, adding time for you to look at all the images, 'cause I didn't leave enough in the actual shoot to properly display them all. Now I'm a rock star making a song to fill the time. I can't even keep a beat though, so not gonna keep this career going back to the news. But I'm covering this so I can talk about the fact that fellow content creator Quinn's Ideas recently tried to do a Dune trailer reaction, and after editing it and re-uploading it and editing it and re-uploading it, trying to remove anything that WB could claim, and then getting to the point where he had nothing in his reaction that was not his own content, WB still kept striking down his reaction to a trailer he was not even showing because he had a leak. And WB thought they had in their authority a way to take down someone's reaction. I totally support WB's ability to take down anything to do with their trailer, but just someone's reaction to a leak they do not own. And that is not a good look. This comes back to the whole old media versus new thing. Abusing these systems is not going to work out for these people in the long run, and as they get less and less powerful and content creators get more and more power and media empires in their own, this is the kind of behavior that's going to result in bad relationships. These people people need to reach out and work with their mega fans, not try and cut them down and make it so that if they reach out in the future, there's already a bad taste in someone's mouth. Next news. We got the season 2 trailer for His Dark Materials. It looks rather good, definitely a little bit higher budget, and for me it kind of buys into the theory I've been having here for a minute, where a lot of these shows that had good but rough season 1s will have a more polished and steady season 2. They're often trying to jump up to the highest point when they really need to work there, but they can take that season 2 to really plug some of the holes their season 1s had. So I have faith that season 2 of His Dark Materials will be even better, and the same thing with The Witcher, and I can't wait for The Witcher trailer, but this His Dark Materials trailer had me excited. Mrs. Coulter, the actress who plays her, is just absolutely destroying that role. She's amazing. Speaking of trailers, we also had the first trailer for the upcoming The Stand miniseries. We got Whoopi Goldberg playing this older, wiser character. It looks a bit over the top, but overall I'm kind of just into that. It looks all right. We got Skarsgård as Randall Flagg, and this one seems, I mean, we're judging from a trailer, right? It's like 2 seconds of footage, but it seems slightly more muted than I expected, and I'm really hoping we see a deterioration of him into this mad, chaotic force he is in the book, without getting into spoilers here. And maybe more importantly, I don't see a ton of CG apocalypse shot. This cornfield looks real. These cars look real. I'm tired of apocalypse shows just having these badly matted or pasted on like CG looking apocalypse wallpapers. This seems very practical, which for me will really help with the immersion of a Stand show, The Stand show. So I will be watching this for sure. Probably my second or third favorite Stephen King story of all time, and it definitely deserves a miniseries adaptation, and a miniseries is the way to go for this. It's too short for like a multiple season show, and it's too long for a movie, or even like a trilogy of movies it isn't structured right for. This is perfect. Ready for it. CBS All Access. I will access you for this. That is what I will say. And in the final piece of news, after all this positive Hollywood stuff of like, you're doing this right, you're doing that right, we also have the news that apparently, there's going to be an animated comedy spin-off show of The X-Files, because we're already getting one of those for Star Trek, and I guess people are desperate for, like, now that they saw Rick and Morty's success, they're like, we can do a dark, twisted spin-off comedy of a sci-fi concept. What do we have in our IPs? Oh, we have Star Trek. We'll do one of those called Lower Decks. Oh, and we also have The X-Files, if you're another company that has the rights to The X-Files. So we'll do that as too. Anyway, this has been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and post any news stories you'd like to see me cover or aggregate into this channel by joining the Discord server and posting them in the Fantasy News channel. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.